Hi, this is Laura, by the way. I'm not able to Zoom video in using the link on the city, so I had to call in.
Well, make some announcements here. Let's see.
I think it may have been the way that this particular meeting was set up, but we can absolutely hear you. So if that works for you, that works for us.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just want to make sure you all can hear me.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Sarah.
No problem. I'm just gonna close this door.
Okay.
Outside interference. I wanted to make sure it got off all right, but I'll probably pop out in a few minutes.
Okay, I guess it's 5 past. Holy cow. Are we ready? By the way, I have apologies from oh yeah, I'll make an announcement about that shortly, but I have Caitlin and Laura are both moving places, so they're gonna zoom in if they can. Somebody's on there.
I think
That's Laura.
Laura.
Can't see us.
Right.
Yeah, we see a picture of the phone.
Well,
Everyone, I can hear you. I had to do the phone link with the city link.
good. Okay, Laura, just speak up whenever you want to butt in, okay?
Sounds good, we'll do.
Yes, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, so let us begin. Would you, yeah, Caitlin missed a plane connection. You know, she's commuting to take care of a relative.
Yes.
And so she's a bit stressed and missing a plane, she said she did. So, Richard, would you care to
Sure.
do the roll call?
Julian Shepherd is here.
Yes.
Mark Welford is here. And Laura on video, on
Here.
Zoom, whatever. And Nikita Robinson, Broome. And so is Luke Day and Richard.
Okay, and do put down Caitlin for excused.
Excused. Tom?
Okay, Tom has resigned, and he says largely for personal reasons. He just feels he's not keeping up with things, so I wrote him a note saying we would miss him because I very much value his sort of experience and the comments he's made, but we wrote the letter to Sarah and me, so I'll make sure the city council knows, because if Rebecca does come, I'll make sure she knows, because they will need to appoint a replacement. And of course, we're still pending another replacement, and I haven't heard anything about that. So I was hoping Rebecca would be here to tell us. We have 3 candidates, but
2 vacancies.
yeah. Right. Okay, approval of the minutes. Any comments on the minutes?
You're very thorough.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Okay, if I hear no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Okay. Laura? Okay.
Yes.
Just one.
Here.
Okay, do you approve the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I just wanted to add that to the attendance that the ex officio member is not here yet, so Ashley can have it.
Right.
Excuse.
No, I didn't hear anything. Okay, public comment? I don't see any public. So we will move on to previous business. And Richard, would you like to just tell us where you are on the Blue Bag Task Force?
Okay. Just gonna change the order now, because that's the legislative committee.
That's true, yes. I'm sorry, you're quite right, yeah. Yes, why don't you tell us about that, Susan?
Okay, it's, we're gonna be putting in a proposal for two possible solutions. One is the immediate solution of the issue, which is going to be suggestion to find a different way to distribute them to ease the hardship, to make them stronger, and change the financial burden maybe so that landlords would be responsible for providing the bags to their tenants up to a certain point, and then if they go past that point, you know, they have excess trash, then they have to be responsible for that. And the other part of it is that we want to try to do a more responsible way of disposing of our solid waste, which would also lower the amount of garbage that has to be put into the blue bags. For example, if we can turn our biodegradables into compost, then that doesn't have to go to the landfill and it doesn't have to go into the blue bags. So people would be saving money on blue bags because they wouldn't need as many. And it also would be a more environmentally conscious way of dealing with solid waste. We want to get the county involved, and what I found out recently is that in 2022, the state passed a law that if you have a large enough compost facility, every municipality within 25 miles must use it. Must use it by state law. Now, what's good about that is that if the county develops a compost facility, if it's done on a large enough scale, it could be a profitable thing. That's a huge if, but it also helps them to alleviate the pressures on the landfill. So it gives them two possible benefits. And Luke has a lot of.
Seems like the logical solution is kind of. Drivers, the go to do it, expense and it always, I mean, any of these issues, my experience anyway, with 8 years in the city, it comes back to the money. Almost every single issue you deal with always gets back to the budget and the money, and the political will. So it's needs the political will and somebody in a position to champion and then to assist them or to gather the data to show how the economics work and are fairly distributed so that the people that can afford it can still. I mean, we all benefit from it, regardless of how it gets paid for, but the voting public is usually who's paying for it, how they're paying for it.
Yeah, I have a rather superficial comment that the city is already picking up on Monday's yard waste. That's all compostable stuff.
Sure.
So can compostables be thrown in without much
It would be the
additional
other way around. The yard waste would be thrown in with compostables.
Yeah.
Because right now they're trucking the yard waste out to Conklin, as Luke pointed out at the last meeting, and paying a pretty hefty fee. Was it $70,000 a year?
I think it's $75,000
$75,000 a year to do that. Instead, they could be
that's a good starting point. And my first thought to that is, well, why doesn't the city, why don't they accept the city's garbage? If they already have a facility there for that. So, I mean, these things take a little time to evolve, but if you could get that started, or somehow somebody in the city wanted to push for that, you know, goal, short-term goal. Yeah. I think that that's a reasonable argument. I know a lot of the townships have places that you can bring stuff, and then it turns around. You can go pick up wood chips, you can get different things. They're just freely given to whoever comes, you know, that lives in that municipality.
So it
But
seems,
I would kind of keep them separate.
Yes.
As far as, because it's like, if you put it all at once, that's a huge boulder to push up the hill. Whereas if you get a couple small stones up there, then you can turn it into a big boulder and roll it down the other side.
Yeah, I think that's good. And
One thing about the blue bags you mentioned about the landlords, I don't know this, maybe Sarah could know or could possibly find out. I believe the original legislation back in 1990 or 91, when blue bags started, said that the landlords were to provide the blue bags.
We can certainly look into that.
And is that still the case?
Right.
I don't think it's been enforced or pushed or been an issue, but I think there might be already laws out of books. People just need to be brushed off and say, you know, that's.
And possibly that when they pay their property taxes, they're in the area here, they could pick up a stack of blue bags at the same time, just as they now pick up their recycling bins. Like, come to City Hall, pick up my recycling bin on the second floor.
what I'd like your task force to do is to check with the county, just see
Oh,
what's
yeah.
going on there.
Yeah, I have a call into Roger Brown, who's the Public Works Commissioner for the county.
Okay,
And I'm waiting for a return call, and I hope I get it tomorrow or the day before.
good.
Soon, just called him yesterday.
Yeah, and of course, as Luke emphasizes, think about the budget issues.
Yes.
And,
Well, I think the vendors, I have heard from people that there's limited vendors, there's not as many as there used to be. It's like stores in different neighborhoods, some neighborhoods, like the Bosco Bites.
That's it. Yeah.
They used to be a Giant at one time, or
Right.
whatever store it was. And they're no longer on the southeast side, they're no longer here or there, so people have to travel for the to get the blue bags. As far as the quality goes, that's up to the city, they give the specs for the purchasing. They can put up whatever specs you want. One thing to consider, the better the bags, probably the longer it is to break them down. So that's kind of a
Yeah, so
double-edged sword.
biodegradable bags are not part of the proposal.
Could be.
It's gonna be costly. Right?
Would they be as durable? Could be something to find out. I think, Luke, you seem to have a lot of information about the economics.
But also they, city, as far as I know, they put it out to the vendors to go directly to stores.
Oh, really?
So the city used to buy all the bags, they would have distributed to the stores, and then they would collect the money back from the stores. Stores got X amount for selling them.
Yes, and I discussed this with Rebecca, who referred me to Adasa, said that right now they're having a big problem because they recently raised the price on bags. Some vendors have the old price and some vendors have the new price, and people think cheated if they're being charged the new price. But they see it somewhere else for a lower price.
The city setting a consistent price.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
I think it went from $7 or something to $10
For the large bags.
almost like 50% increase.
Yeah, and that money should be back to the city, because the vendors, I mean, the bags cost pennies on the dollar per bag to actually purchase the bags themselves.
Any thoughts for inclusion? That's why we share this, so that we can.
I think I uploaded a bunch of this stuff on Basecamp.
Yes,
As far as,
yeah.
whatever I had.
Yeah. Some of that stuff goes a long way back too, like last September.
Most of it, because
Yeah.
new stuff is not in my grasp.
Right.
Under the current administration.
Yeah.
let's just say.
What I mean, my sort of reflex action is that make charging people for blue bags, however it's done, makes them responsible for their trash. And I think that's a very important principle. And it was abundantly demonstrated way back when blue bags were introduced. So,
Yeah, they roughly 25,000 tons to 15,000 tons.
Right.
In 1 year. That's a considerable drop in solid waste.
that was actually simultaneous with introducing recycling. So, you know, that,
They had recycling inspectors, and that was also, it wasn't single source. The recycling back then was sorted.
Yeah.
You had to sort it in your bins, and then the trucks they had, it was very labor intensive,
yes,
but also it was pretty effective as far as glass. They had trucks that were all different bins.
I remember
The
that.
glass was separated from the metal, was separated from cardboard. Which they're going to ask the county about possibly going back to that, because I do not believe that plastics get recycled. The city's paying, at least according to the budget, well over $200,000 a year just to feed, besides delivering it to Appalachia. That's like a huge expense,
Yeah.
lots of fuel, lots of worse. Seems like better ways to fix it.
And I heard that, I read actually that glass breaks, these little slivers of glass get mixed in with the other stuff, and it could be a big problem for the equipment for processing of paper. So the paper is torn into really tiny bits, that can also mess up the equipment.
That depends on the sorting facility. Yeah, I know the one that solid waste or waste management has up in Liverpool, it was 10, 15 years ago, was really state of the art. I mean, it looked strange inside,
Yeah,
but
I saw the video.
it worked very well.
Yeah.
It worked very well, and they were able to recycle about 98%. They had issues where the glass dropped down, it was captured, it was separated without getting hit. Very good equipment. I didn't see anywhere near that. I was not going to tour down at the plant in Appalachia. But that's a very limited facility. I did see the bales that were going out. As far as mixed. But that's, I mean, those are issues further down the road.
Yeah. I guess just something occurs to me about the idea of giving bags to landlords. That's one more step between sort of individual responsibility. But so just think on that.
It would be that bags given to landlords would be based on an average amount of garbage, because we all generate some garbage.
Right.
And then if any tenant goes beyond that, they'd have to be responsible. So
I've seen that. Yeah.
instead of like starting them at square one, saying you have to pay for every little bit of garbage that you generate.
Yeah.
Everybody generates some garbage.
Yeah.
But we want to keep people from generating excess garbage. So there would be a certain base level there, which they would be provided bags by the landlord, and after that, they would have to be responsible.
I see that. Yeah, it's just, how does the landlord get it? And what about the fact that there's a lot of absentee landlords? I assume they have factors or, you know, people who manage for them. But
They legally have to have a local manager.
that's why I didn't even know that.
Unless
Okay.
you registered.
Yeah.
So there is supposed to be a local responsibility.
Okay.
City council has recently passed legislation that make it more regular.
Okay.
Show that their apartments are up to code, or they can rent them, things like that. So they can also include that extra thing in there. It's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
Well, along the way, as your group comes up with questions and stuff, like at least.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, good.
Shreyash and I are the two most working on it, but Denise has also started working on it. And I said Luke has a lot of insight.
Yeah,
into
there's
this.
some like the pointed questions, I can either answer them off the top of my head, or look up old data, or look up anything new that I can find, at least point to that information. Yeah.
But we hope to have, package for you next month, and
Yeah, that would be really
with
cool.
references and everything, so that we can consider that and make further changes.
And I had mentioned it a year ago, where, I met with Professor Holmes and NASA and discussed this issue. And I know they have that project north of Maine, going out for years, so there's already some familiarity with people in the project in the neighborhood. I recommended like the parks there and stuff. One issue is education. Educate people and say, come to a class seminar or a thing on Saturday, bring your kids to the park and the local little pocket parks. You could have somebody from the garbage department over there explaining to them where the stuff goes, how it's collected, different things, fixed in the park, garbage truck, stuff like that. I mean, and then the young families especially, because they generate more garbage than anybody. Yeah, young families, a lot of kids. It's just a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So educate them, and then by coming in the education, then give them sleeves of blue bags for showing up, participation. And I'm sure we could find, if we had to do outside funding source, we could find funding. And at least start a pilot plan. And then, because if that's the problem we're trying to solve, or one of the problems we're trying to solve, right, let's see if we can solve that problem.
Yeah. Yep.
So
So
at
please,
least, in a defined area where you see what works, what doesn't work, before you just say, well, this is what we're doing.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I guess, Richard, would the task force please work the education aspect into?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
slideshows in progress.
Yeah.
Which you can't dot the i's and cross the t's until we have it.
I'm smiling because you always do a slideshow, so.
The school kids are trying, they're trying, just like the recycling. Educating them on recycling.
Yeah.
Successful.
Okay, good. So is that the main work of the legislative
There's
committee?
questions,
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Jordan, there's a question.
How about ecotoxicology?
Before we move on, a
Yeah.
guest wants to speak. So hold on. So Mike Dundon wants to speak, wants to speak. He wanted to wait until we were done talking about school
Sorry,
bags, but
who?
Mike Dundon, the
Oh.
council president, he has a message for us. And so he wanted me to call, when we're done talking about school bags. Okay, Mike, you're on speaker.
Okay, so I wanted to address the whole commission, and just make it a very clear point as council president, speaking with other members of city council. We are not going to do anything or move forward with fluoride in any way. I don't know why it seems to keep being brought up that we have not made a definitive decision, so I figured I would call into the meeting today and let everybody know that it is not something that city council is going to move forward with. And if anybody would like to meet with me next week and discuss it face to face, I'll be more than available.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So,
Alrighty. I mean, there's plenty of other stuff I know that the commission could work on. Lead in the soil, I know is one. It feels like we're just spinning our tires in the mud, and as seems like somewhere there was translate or communication. It was lost that council wasn't gonna move forward with it, so instead of it being a back and forth, I figured I would just call in. I'd make it very specific that it's something we are not gonna move forward with the city council. And like I said, if any member of the commission would like to talk to me one-on-one about it, I will be available in town next week.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
All righty.
We'll-
Well, thank you all so much and continue doing
good,
job,
thanks
and I
for
will
calling
talk
in.
to, you guys
Yeah.
later.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, good for you, Nikita, thank you. Okay. Did you make a note of that, sir, secretary?
I don't see why I need to.
Yeah, right, okay, no, I don't care where you make your notes.
No, I mean, it'll be.
Good, thank you. Do you want to say anything about ecotoxicology?
Yeah, ecotoxicology is concerned mostly with the water quality because we have not been getting information from the parks department and the other task force that we have. But with respect to the water quality, the main focus has been fluoridation because fluoride is something that's added to the water. It's not something that is taken out or has to be filtered out. So it's an easy thing to resolve if you just find it to be toxic or you don't want to add the toxic waste that the fluoride comes with. Just don't add it to the water supply. It's an easy solution, as Jeff Brother pointed out when he was here last year. So so we have there's 3 people still working on it. One just resigned. There's 4, there were about 6 people on it. Don't change topics. These things happen, you know.
Yeah.
But so fluoridation is a developing issue. And then also we have a graduate student who is interested in working with us, but is not formally a committee
Right.
member and has not been able to come to a meeting yet, but I've been in communication with them. So I announced at the last meeting that he had come up with 5 chemicals that he felt were concerning in the water supply in addition to fluoride. And so I looked at the water quality report, and the water quality report doesn't indicate that these are problems, but he went to a different website, which I'll give you the website.
And you're talking about the water supplies that comes through the taps, right?
No, that's distributed.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, exactly. That's
So
what-
you're big.
Yeah, I mean, what comes through the taps also goes through your plumbing in your house, so it could pick up lead and other things on the way.
Okay,
Yeah,
Right.
well,
Yeah, or lead soldering, you know.
Yeah, no, but let's not outlaw for
Over 30. But aren't there some old homes that still happen?
oh, sure. But the amount of lead that's gonna go into your water.
Okay, so it's called EWG, you put in the search engine, EWG, Environmental Work Group, I guess, and Binghamton, Working Group. Okay, and then you put in, they're a national nonprofit located in Washington, DC. So I seem to have familiarity, some, little bit, I've heard of them.
What's the issue with lead in your water supply? Your homes. Actual lead pipes. Mostly, my house is lead. I got some lead pipes in my house, just all the time. That ends up going through a treatment plant. As far as what percentage of lead sheds. Most of that, but most as far as city lines, water department and engineering, but I'm pretty confident the city doesn't have any lines of water in their distribution system.
But for the water quality report, where they get the samples from, that, I think that was the issue.
They get them from all over.
Oh,
Places.
they go to different locations.
That's required by the.
And then they take the
department.
fire hydrants or?
All fire hydrants get some sampled also, but, mostly buildings, different buildings, the schools get sampled. Various municipal buildings get sampled. So I would say, old homes, that would be something that, there was a concern that they could test it. They could maybe open up a thing where maybe the county would be willing to have the health department people bring in samples of water from their home. They still do cooperative extension, used to do soil samples. They would test it for you from your home garden. Similar type of program. A few Saturdays a year or whatever.
Anyway, Scott was at that meeting, the chief, later after we did that. There were 5 chemicals, one was nitrate and the other 3 were various trihalomethanes. And they are above, they're within compliance of the EPA, but above the limits that this group says to be healthy. What I did
where's
to
that?
find out is, like, how they get their standards, I don't know, I just.
Where's the data coming from?
That's what I need to know.
Yeah.
Oh, the data, the
Yeah.
actual data comes
Yeah.
from the water quality report, but they
Okay.
have different standards than the EPA. And I would like to find out where the
Okay.
standards come from. Next thing.
You mean the county?
No, this group, the environmental working group,
No, we were talking about the standards.
set by the group. There's a group that says that Binghamton water is above their standards. They consider it.
And so it's how it's a local.
No, it's a Washington DC national nonprofit.
One. That's the one standards, right?
Yeah, that's what I want to find out, where they get it.
What does
Science based, or they just pick numbers out of the hat, I don't know.
What does the EPA say?
The EPA has not set standards for all of the chemicals, and it has not looked at standards sometimes for decades to change them. So technology has improved, technology has improved about toxicity. So that is an issue. But the thing is, where is it set? Now, EPA has been mandated by the court to take a look at fluoride, but it probably could say the same thing for other chemicals. We should take a look at it.
Yeah. I sort of have no idea how often they review those kind of things. You say that, they haven't reviewed them for a long time. How do we know? I mean,
Yeah, you can find that out.
Okay,
But then, and then there are some that just are unregulated because they've never set the standard. This group has set standards.
okay.
Do you have a list? So then it would be easier to look at, so like, I think what would be helpful is if you had it written down exactly what chemicals you're concerned about, and then, so then we can tell us which ones have regulations, which ones don't, what the regulations are, and then just give us all, like, I'm a data person, I'm a scientist.
Yeah, they're in the minutes for last week's meeting.
But do you have everything broken down?
Broken down?
Like as the way that I said, because it seems like we're all asking similar questions.
They have it on the website. Yeah, just look it up, and they have Binghamton water, and they have the amount from the water quality report. They have the EPA standard, and they have their standard for health.
And that's in the minutes?
It's on the website, I just.
I know, but you told me that it was in the minutes. That's
The
after-
list of chemicals
Don't
is
yell.
the list of
Not yell at
chemicals
me.
is in
I'm asking you though, but you are trying to tell us something, so it's helpful.
I'm not telling you, I'm just
I know you're
saying that
sharing
this was brought to
information.
my attention of 5 chemicals, and we were looking into it. I announced them at the meeting because people on the water task force may want to look into it.
Okay,
But
That's
if
what
you're-
I did. I
yes.
did not make any
But if you're gonna,
conclusions or anything.
yes, but if you're going to say, these are the things that you're concerned about, it's very
I
helpful.
did not say that we are concerned.
You're not concerned about the water quality?
well, let's find out just what's in.
We
the
are
water,
concerned
okay?
enough to look into it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Now, you have a water task force, is that what
Yes,
it is?
yes.
Okay.
So right now, the water quality, as far as I know, has not any criteria set. It's by the county health department, which gets their regulations from the state DEC, which gets their regulations. So, for meeting those standards, but the standards change. I think that goes way beyond local. I mean,
I didn't
sure
say I
that
wanted
could.
any standards change. I want to find out what their basis is for having their standards. But from what I've been able to find out, there are a few chemicals where the EPA is going to be changing their standards. New York State has already done it in advance. And so we comply with the federal as well as the state standards. I don't think there are separate county standards. I think they're the same as the states.
They may be
far as I
able
know, I
to,
don't know.
they may be able to write more.
Yeah.
They could put more into it as far as regulations go, they just can't advertise.
Exactly. They
The
can make
lower
it
the
more,
municipality, the
more
lower the
stringent.
regional body,
yes,
you can make things more.
and that's what New York State has done with these basins.
So Nikita, does that sort of, I want to hear what the water task force comes up with eventually.
Yeah, yeah, that was interesting, but like, I guess the premise is he's talking about, like the environmental work group, which is not a government agency, and he said they have standards, and he wants to look into their standards, and so that's, I think, what Luke was trying to ask is, like, why are we going
Yeah.
based off of their standards, and I think you're asking that too, bring some scientific information, but if you're, it's fine to have questions about the water quality, I'm not opposed to looking into that, but I think there's questions if you're looking at a non-government website and saying they have standards, so you're not meeting their standards, and that's the reason for concern. So again, my thing is, I would like to see what's helpful for me, if you like to, and this also too, if you want to bring additional information, what's helpful. I'm just saying this is what's helpful, have a list of the chemicals that are of concern, what the current standards are, what our levels are, like the water quality, if you know what the numbers are. You want to include the work group and what their standards are, and then back it up with why we should consider that. But as Luke's saying, as Luke's point, that's kind of beyond the scope, but I think at the local level to try to change but I think it's just more helpful to bring.
It's my understanding
More
that we
information.
are looking to improve the environment and the health of the people. And,
Yeah.
If the
And we're
federal
currently
agencies
meeting-
are not serving us properly, and we find convincing scientific evidence that makes us want to consider an alternative, then I bring it to the attention. I don't pass the laws, but
Yeah, no, we can, as far as I'm concerned, you can consider all those things. What we do about it is another issue.
It's just,
that's
it's
always
just,
another issue.
just a personal opinion, it just seems like a lot of efforts. With a very lofty goal.
Yeah.
Whereas there's so many things, like, I would like to know where we are with the state. Plastics. That's something that affects everybody, every day, all day.
We can start a new committee and you can head it.
That's,
My committee, the people that are on it, I let them choose whatever they want to work on.
Yeah.
I explained that to Julie. We had a coffee on Monday. And if they don't find anything that we're working on, they can propose something else. And it's something that the city can deal with, then I give them the go ahead. But one is doing a
sustainable agriculture. Another one doing the mixing of the water between Johnson City and Binghamton. And, and neither one of those were there before they were proposed by the students who want to do it. But there were other students that wanted to work either on the blue bag issue or the fluoridation issue. And this new list of chemicals came up for the first time. A graduate student who brought it to my attention.
Yeah.
And so we are at square one with this.
Yeah.
Just discovered it.
I just want to say one thing about fluoridation, and I don't want to go any further, that the issue is moot as far as we and the city council are concerned now. If the Ecotox committee wants to research fluoridation, and that is what the committee wants to do, fine. But and you know, as we said last time, we're always looking for new information. And as new information comes up, then we can reconsider. But I would suggest that we don't spend any time talking about it on the commission at the moment until new evidence is brought forth.
Well, we agreed on that.
Good.
And I'd like to just also add that the students told me that, so the reason why the students chose what they chose for the projects that they're doing with Richard is that Richard, this is all that I will say about that, is like Richard said the most pressing issue was the fluoridation of the water. This is directly out of the words of like the mouth of the student. And then that was second to the blue bags. And so that's, the student told me that's why most of the students chose to do fluoridation. It was because they were told that was the most pressing issue, but that student also did tell me that Richard acknowledged that there were other issues that we could be working on. I think there are other issues that we should work on. And yes.
And what I would propose is just that the Ecotox committee consider what they most want to work on, and that's fine. So, but just do make sure the whole committee is in agreement, okay?
The whole committee is not in agreement. That's why we have 3 people working on one thing, 2 people working on something else. People can have their different priorities.
Yeah.
And also, let me just add to you that I've also told all committees that when the city comes to us with an issue, then that goes on the front burner. Because that has to, that it probably means there's some legislation coming up, and we act on that first.
Yeah.
And so there's no disagreement, there's no like where this is preventing something else, because, we have these committees that never met once, we have other things that never happened, and at least something's happening here, and we're meeting every month, and I don't see why we should be criticized as being the most active committee.
Yeah. Okay, just out of curiosity on another issue, you've got a lot of students. Are they going to just disappear in 3 weeks? End of semester? What happens in the summer? I'm just curious.
Well, Sean will be here for the summer, but the rest of them, I think they're going away. Some of them, want to come back in the fall, others are graduating.
Okay.
Well, actually, the one that's graduating is the one that resigned. So,
okay.
Yeah, most of them will not be here for the summer. And I told them that perhaps we can do something with Zoom if they want to, but I think they have internships and things in the summer, or jobs, where they have to make money for their tuition.
Yeah.
So,
I
I don't expect most of them to be here back until the fall.
And that doesn't disqualify them as far as I'm concerned, but it does look like things will move into a back burner for a while. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, the blue bag issue and the fluoridation issue, those projects will be finished shortly.
Okay. Could we move on?
And one of the things for Ecotox, community, just in general, there should be a level of respect between respectfully disagree with people without yelling, without being disrespectful. And that should, we should always be respectful. You can do it. And what happened at the Ecotox meeting was unacceptable. And I did not appreciate that. And the students should not have endured what they did. They were scared. and they did not feel safe. And that should never happen again. You can disagree and not yell, and you can like, there should never be yelling, there should never be pounding, there should never be any body language that would make anybody feel unsafe. And all of them looked scared, and I had multiple students tell me of like how they felt. So I just want to say, if you want to disagree with me, do it respectfully. Allow me to finish talk, and then you can talk. Don't interrupt me or other people.
I think you may try to be a fiction writer because you seem to have a gift for fiction. First of all,
let's
You-
not,
And
okay.
it's not to rehash.
I have to correct something here because you said that you did not, and I did apologize to Jasmine because you interrupted her. She
Okay.
had the floor, she was talking about her fluoride research, and you started into her and barked at her not to talk about
That is not true.
all right, all right.
and
Let's-
then when Sarah started, she figured, oh, I better quit, and then nobody wanted to talk anymore. And then you made a resolution, or made a motion to stop fluoride discussion. There was no second to it. That didn't satisfy you. You kept going on and on. I said, no second, it's done. That's it. There was no pounding. It was you who were out of order.
Okay,
You didn't pound.
It was you out of order.
You didn't pound. You did not pound. I'm glad that it's just to let you know.
Yeah, we don't want to.
I know, like, I know we're gonna stop, but just to let you know, multiple people in the room heard the recording that I had, and you absolutely were
Okay.
pounding.
I
And
think,
so I'm glad that I'll be happy once you submit your video, and then people can see the footage of what happened. But I just wanted to be clear that there needs to be respect going forward, respectfully disagree, and not to do that again.
okay, I think you've made that point,
Yeah.
Nikita. Let's leave it at that, okay? And let's not argue too much about past history. I know, past history is important, but let's go from here. May we?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I have to head out to make my 3 p.m. Work meeting, but I'll fill myself in on the minutes in the recording. But I'll see you all next week, or I'm sorry, next month. Bye, everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Laura.
Laura. Happy
Yeah, thanks for letting me call in today.
Okay. Yeah,
Just before you, one thing I think it might be worthwhile is to just adopt a code.
sorry. Laura.
Adopt a code of conduct from,
Yes,
just a general. You don't have to rewrite, you can just adopt. I can look into it.
okay, thank you. Yeah,
We'll go put it down.
I think we can probably manage. Yeah, but do look into it.
And
Yeah.
this may seem like a silly idea. Somebody, like, I was at a meeting, and like, if somebody has the ball, only the person with the ball talks. So I don't know if that's something, if
Oh,
we
yeah.
need to, we could do that too. So that could be,
Yeah,
We used to do that at citizen action, but we had a stick, called it the talking stick. We used to pass it around.
Well, according to our bylaws, it says anything not covered is covered by Robert's rules. Robert's rules say
Yeah.
that, you talk in turn, you don't interrupt. And if the motion is not seconded, it's dead.
yeah, okay. That is dead, okay, but you're quite right, yes. Okay. Look, I want to move on, almost 3 o'clock. Public outreach, any,
Okay, well, public outreach was to meet last Friday, but because we had the climate change summit,
sure,
I postponed the meeting and encouraged people to go to that instead.
yeah, makes good sense, okay.
Conflict. So we did not have a public outreach education.
Okay, transportation, Luke, I did put these last 2 on there just because they are our committees. And,
I have not, we haven't formalized a group yet. in
Yeah.
transportation.
we'll do that one day, Luke.
We will. But it probably won't be today.
Right. And the native gardens, I do have a comment about that, that there were basically only 3 people on it among us, and that was Tom, who had already resigned from the chairship of that, but now he's resigned from the commission. And Caitlin did say, we asked her, would she chair it? And she said at the meeting last time that, she'd think about it, but she did think about it rather quickly and said, no, I'm way too busy with all my concerns. So I think I will just be the chair of that, and we will, as long as Caitlin agrees to that, which I assume she might, and just, I do want to pursue that, but for me, that's on the back burner at the moment. So.
Jill still on that committee?
Who?
Jill Schmidt. She came to our very first meeting last April from SUNY Broome.
Oh, I forgot. Well, let's see. Yes, you're right, Jill Schultz. Someone named Eve Citron, I just don't even know those.
Yeah, he was one of the students on the legislative committee.
Ah, okay. And Jill?
And she's the one I mentioned is working on sustainable agriculture topic, so it fits right in.
Yeah, I was just thinking the chairs have to be on the commission, but, so,
Yes.
they're not eligible for that, but,
No. But members.
yeah, I'll keep in mind that
You have more members than you thought, Julie.
yes. Yeah,
Because that as actually, as something I was thinking about before, because there are a lot of, I'm happy that students are engaged, and there are a lot of students that are on, that are members of the committees, but they're
Right.
been gone for the summer, or they might not be around for long. Is there any outreach or any effort to recruit people within the community to be on the,
Sure.
on the committees? Because I think that would be helpful to have people that maybe might have a little bit, feel more invested, and
Yes.
the people are going to be more long-term.
yes. Well, that's a good point. The answer is, are we doing that? No,
No,
not
we
yet.
are actually. I twice had mentioned it at the South Side.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and I missed a neighborhood meeting last week, and when was it? Early this week. But anyway, Cooperative Extension apparently is doing something, which this person, Jan Marcy, who's actually, I sort of know indirectly, but because she's actually a retired pastor. But apparently they've done some parks on Liberty Street and Lorraine Avenue. And so, and the principal idea of the task force was to look at vacant properties of the city and see what could be done. But here is some people who are actually doing things. And do you know anything about those through your connection with Vines? Or, I don't even quite know what they call their group, but
this one's Blocks in Bloom. With Jan or Joe?
yeah, okay, Blocks in Bloom project, yeah. And
One thing I forgot to mention, Julian, and the transportation.
Yeah.
Back up for 1 minute, sorry. There is a greenway cleanup.
yeah, good.
Yeah, that's on the south side, Friday the 25th at 1 p.m. The new greenway that goes from the South Washington Street Bridge to corner Murray Hill. So,
Yeah, I heard about that too.
Yeah,
good. And then stops.
yeah.
Check off.
That's one that also is organized.
Well, it's through Friends of the Greenway. She's involved with that.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's all right.
Oh, yeah, okay. Whoa, okay, yeah. By the way, I've been talking to the Friends of the Greenway quite a bit, and so that's a good project, yeah. So April 25th, you said, at 1 o'clock, yeah.
1 o'clock. Yeah, they'll probably be somewhere.
Yeah.
Could we send out and I know people are, I think somebody's on the CR club here, like there's people in different clubs, so is there a way for us to, even to listservs, to try to recruit more members for our various committees, to have a more robust committees?
Yes, we could do that as we, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you can all take your individual initiatives to, as I guess Richard has done at the Southside Neighborhood Assembly, to just, you know, tell what we do and if they're interested. Okay? Okay. The annual report. And the annual report, by the way, I have a copy here if you don't.
Yeah, I didn't see it yet, so I'll take a copy. This
Yeah,
is it.
that's it. Yeah, I put this up on Basecamp at about 8:30 last night because I've been working through actually all the old minutes, and I seem to be lots of minutes missing. I don't seem to have anything between September and December, so
They should all be on the city website.
okay, how do I find those? Under City Council?
Under
We have our own.
commission.
I'm gonna email you the link. Dr. Shepherd. Would you like me to email you the link?
Sorry?
Would you like me to email you the link?
The link to the city site,
Oh.
where it actually is.
Yeah.
I can send you an email, like,
Okay,
it'll take you directly
Thanks,
to
do
it.
that. Yeah, I mean, I actually get onto the city website, but it's pretty big. You know, you don't quite know where to look for things. I looked under City Council and found,
If you go under government, then under boards and commissions, start with government, city City of Binghamton. Homepage, then government.
yeah,
then
actually,
boards and commissions,
okay,
and then ours will come up.
right, yeah, I've actually found that.
Then if you go all past. under
Yes.
meetings,
Okay, maybe I was not very careful. I did go through that, but,
and that's where all the agendas and the oh, that's for today.
okay,
But the other ones, that should all be there. But just make sure you're looking at the monthly meetings.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Not the committee meetings.
yeah, okay,
The overall commission meetings. So
okay.
they should all be
Yeah, I should explore a little more thoroughly. I was most of the way there, but anyway,
there. I know we were reprimanded in the minutes, we're not moving quick enough, but I think we rectified that.
yeah. Anyway, the policy I'd like on minutes, which I don't think has been followed very religiously, but we always put up a draft minutes, okay? But then I would like that the finalized minutes after the meeting has, the, you know, sequential meeting has approved it. I'd like that to go up on Basecamp too, okay? So that it's available directly to the commission. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Now, I also, we had a agreement here, but I don't know if it ever got to the city clerk that we asked to have the minutes that need to be approved, put in with the agenda for the packet that they need to the city council. For that
Okay,
meeting, so that people don't have to go back
yeah, that's
to do
good.
the minutes.
Okay, I could make
think
sure
That's why a
that's,
lot of people forget to read. the minutes.
okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, Richard.
Yeah, but just ask the clerk's office to include the packets, right?
Yeah, we had discussed it, I don't know if it ever got past this
It
room.
may not, yeah, okay, well, that makes sense.
And now, I just noticed that our first meeting was actually April 11th, 2020.
Good.
We also, most of the group drafted and revised the bylaws later, but, you know, actually created the bylaws.
Okay, yeah. We did. I thought they were long-standing.
No. Well,
Okay.
I don't know, Luke gave them to us.
I took the county's plan,
Ah,
tweaked them a little bit. Adopted. Because that was one of the big things I noticed in the county was open basically to bring in, you know, public.
But we did not work with any existing bylaws.
Yeah, couldn't find it.
yeah,
Okay. Inquired about it.
okay, I'll definitely note that then. Good. So what I tried to do is summarize our major actions, and I tried to keep it to 2 pages. So I didn't go into the rather long opinion that we had sent to the city council about the zoning, which was very lengthy, so I just included some of the points there. And
Yes. Well, yeah, they already received that.
yeah, right,
We just know that
right.
it was given to them.
And but the major things that we did do was, first of all, the bylaws, but secondly, the climate action plan comment, and then a fluoridation, and then the zoning, and
At the very beginning, you may want to put down the very first meeting before the other committees, ecology, transportation,
okay,
now the climate action committee.
well, we didn't have a climate action committee, have we?
Well, no,
It's the general value.
We have
That was
a,
pretty much a.
the outreach and education committee that was proposed by Ashley.
Yep.
Voted in at the first meeting. So we had some committees right there at the April meeting.
Yeah, I should list those.
Yeah.
They should be here anyway.
Sure, because you got the legislative later on, you know, the early ones.
Right.
Here, we did a lot last year, actually. Off the ground.
Yes.
Also joined the state.
Yeah.
I think it's membership.
I didn't, that is in here. It's on the back page, yeah. So I didn't,
Remember, it's the page.
Like I sent them a check. They cashed the check, so. I'm all out for %.
yeah, it's on it's about, I'm not very good with these.
Oh,
points,
yeah.
But it's,
Invitation, New York State Association of Conservation Advisory Commissions. Now, they do have a workshop, like a 2 or 3 day workshop. I don't know if they have it the same place every year, but this is like up in the Adirondacks year. And they have different workshop topics. Things, which might be worth if any members are interested. I think it's
okay,
so they have a website.
all right. Well, look, I'll correct all that early stuff because I didn't know that. And, I don't know whether I was out to lunch in April, May, but I didn't remember anything from there.
No, you were there, Julie, I remember.
Anyway, yeah, I'll do that. I'll tell you, I did want to sort of present this today. But if you read through it and you see other things that you really think should be included, I would be glad to do that. I do want to get it off. The bylaws say that we're supposed to present this by April 1st, and so I'm a little delinquent here. So I would like to get it off, say by May 1st, okay, at the latest.
I mean, we accomplished a lot last year. We
Yeah,
got 95% of it at least, so.
yeah.
Yeah, I think your list is
It's pretty good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay. I
Sorry,
think-
I'm looking though for
Sure.
water quality. Not the fluoridation.
What are you looking
Yeah,
for?
well, we looked into some aspects of the drinking water, Homestead well.
Oh, yes,
This is mostly for
I did see that, but I didn't think we took any action on it. I wasn't listing things that we just talked about.
Okay, we didn't really take any action, that's
Yeah.
true.
I did speak with the mayor of Johnson City about that. Got crew about that. The different levels. That the chemical. So we came number 8 is what we got it. Did you? Or no, that was a county meeting.
I think so. I don't
That was
remember.
no, it was a county meeting.
Yeah.
But, EFAS, that's it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right,
That's
so our existing well will not, if they update, I'm not sure where they are with that. But our backup water system, right now we get it from the river. Backup system is the Homestead well.
right.
That would not be, if they lower the parts per billion for EFAS.
It's actually parts per trillion.
Or parts per
Yeah.
trillion, if they
Yeah.
lower that, or state lowers that, we won't, that well won't be there. And it
Yeah.
would require some infrastructure, further purification.
I thought part of the argument was just that they only mix a little bit of that in, so that the actual level in the water delivered.
Yeah, that's true.
It could be an argument for it, but my understanding is the law doesn't say.
I see.
So, there again, I'm
Yeah.
just in conversations with people, not scientists.
Just recently, they developed a material that can be used as a filtering device to filter out the PFAS. And it's actually
Really?
cheaper than activated carbon, much more
Whoa.
efficient. It takes out more than 90%.
I mean, the PF, whatever they are, they've got different names, but anyway, it's being talked about big time in the environmental world, so.
So Luke, in relation to Johnson City, this
Their
ongoing,
wells, my understanding is that their wells will meet, as they are right now.
Was there ongoing discussion about joining the water?
I don't think there's.
No. Okay, that's what I
It
thought.
takes, it's gonna take the administration on this side, on the city side. to be- And that's gonna be, I mean, I started getting into it. And then I backed off, because I started looking at the numbers and the amount of information I'd have to be able to get. And I'm of the thing, I have plenty of stuff to do, I'm not looking for extra stuff to do. I'm not gonna get anywhere, but turn my wheels for the most part.
Yeah.
So I just kind of stopped. I mean, as far far as the connection with the mayor over on the other side, in Johnson City, we seem to have no issues with having a conversation about it. Having the water superintendents, which you have already started talking to each other because they're the experts in that.
Yeah.
Particular. But on this side, I didn't push it because personally, I still haven't met the mayor. Not that I've been trying to, but
Yeah.
they have lots of questions. Not many answers. So it's like, okay. A lot of people have talked about Johnson City joining the city of Binghamton, which the systems are already tied together. My understanding is that they have to increase the pipe going to Johnson City. They'd have to upgrade the pump station, that's what. Which I'm not sure, probably a couple $100,000. But it also gives you the back and forth. Johnson City has very hard water. Personally, I've replaced a lot of hot water heaters and whatnot in Johnson City, and they're out like probably 5 times as fast as they do here. So I assume that your other appliances are the same. Their water billing, the way it's set up, they're comparable. They're close in numbers. But I mean, they have a water department, they have people working there. The water department here, people working there. It's like collecting, change that. Then you got sewer system is also directly tied to the water department, water usage from there. Now you do have the same sort of treatment plant. Then collection systems are all tied together. Water systems are actually tied together. So they have the capabilities. If there's a problem, they can down city of Johnson.
Yeah.
There's room for lots of information gathering there. Get it on this side.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I put composting on the agenda. Frankly, I'm not quite sure why. We were discussing it anyway, and I guess that's why.
One thing I have a question about the composting. The city clerk's office, I believe it was, individual composters for people's houses. I don't know if they stored them at
the city or cooperative
the
extension?
city.
Oh,
City of
okay.
Binghamton. I don't know if they still have them available. I know I personally bought one. I have my house that works pretty well. I'd rather have a spinner one. This is just a box basically with the drawer at the bottom.
Yeah.
Dig it out, but it works. So.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I think I'll send you some things for water quality.
okay. Good.
All right.
Okay, I put the climate change just with the idea of the climate change summit that we would just any report. I know little about it, but evidently there's working groups there. We're doing things, and
Yeah,
so what's going on?
well, I was only there for the morning. Richard was there too. I am part of the housing, but I haven't been attending since I was away.
Yeah.
Richard's part of the health.
Part of 2 degrees.
Yeah. So everyone knows what 2 degrees is doing or is about.
I've gone to I haven't been to the recent one. I did go last year.
So it's out of the university and it's looking at what this area will be facing under 2 degrees. And it's basically a adaptation effort, adapting to it. So you have different working groups. Things are happening. They tied in with existing efforts in a lot of ways. And the one thing that might relate mostly to a lot of this stuff is really more social, I'll say, like how's it gonna affect housing or health? But there's an energy group, and one of the things they brought up in there, which I found rather compelling for us, was that Broome County has a energy action plan, which is focusing on renewable energy development and investing in active transportation infrastructure, investing in smart growth. They plan to push NICEAG to invest in climate resilient transmission upgrades and provide resources for low-income households, electrify, and provide community with resources for rebates that they are made through the state. But the city, though, didn't have any participation. Lots of other groups did. Of course, we didn't really.
Yeah.
I didn't identify myself. I didn't get a chance to. I don't know if you got a chance to identify yourself as being with Vision or.
They put it on my badge.
Okay.
And I was one of the 3 presenters for the slideshow for the health group. There's 7 groups altogether. There's housing group you mentioned, there's one for energy, refugees and social services, infrastructure, there's a transportation group also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to some of the meetings, some of the different groups. There's some very well-informed people. It's the energy one. One of the lead people is a retired NICEAG person. Very knowledgeable about it. It's very interesting group.
And then just wanted to throw this one for food security also.
You know, there's some good consultants, like flood mitigation consultants. There's a woman that was, she's retired from Cornell, or might still teach at Cornell. She was a consultant down in Vigo, has done a lot of flood mitigation work and people work with the village of Vigo and some of the other townships around that. She had a lot of really good information as far as flood mitigation. Values. But there again, it's like, I mean, I'm all for all this stuff. And I worked for the city for 8 years. We always had stuff going on. The state had a lot going on. The federal government had a lot. As far as the different programs, requirements for trainings, and all this stuff to be eligible for FEMA reimbursements. You're supposed to keep up with all these different trainings and whatnot for different departments and people that work for the city. Also, with other organizations, you know, during disaster, it's like how things are set up, who's in charge, how things escalate, de-escalate. There's a lot of really good programs that were like relatively new, or let's just say they got refreshed old programs because so many different floods and there was a lot going on around here. There seems to be a lot more interest. A lot of that seems to have floods mitigation. You know, it's always on everybody's mind when it's flooding at their house. Not so much, you know, once the it's top priority.
So the way the summit was set up was that in the morning session, each of the 7 groups gave about a 20-minute presentation. In one big room, so everybody could listen to each other's presentations. And in the afternoon, it was supposed to be a session where the groups could meet with public officials. Unfortunately, I only saw 2 public officials and 1 representative of the public officials. Believe it or not, the governor sent the representative.
to the summit. I thought that was very impressive. And Susie Ryan, who's one of the county legislators, she was there. Also there in the morning, and then in the afternoon, Hadassah came. And I just wanted to mention that Hadassah's presence made a difference, because the housing working group was focusing on the northeast part of the city.
Yeah.
And because Hadassah came and said, what about the south side? They decided they're gonna take a look at the south side to include in their, revitalization. That's what they rehab houses and things like that. So, it does make a difference for public officials to show up at these things. This is a perfect example of that.
Good, yeah.
And also, just finally, just want to say for people that are interested in information, they can go to the website, which is Binghamton, and then the number 2, and then degrees spelled out all together.com. Binghamton spelled out, number 2,
And then degrees.
degrees spelled out. It's not TWO, it's number 2, and then .com. Website. And they'll also be having, like they did last year, a little arts festival down by Confluence Park. In August.
Right.
So we have artists and photographers who do things that relate to nature or environment. So.
I should revise one thing. The city's Binghamton, the city's climate action plan was part of the packet. I don't remember getting presented though.
It was during the lunch hour. Maybe you left.
Oh, was it? Okay. Did Julia Berlin do that?
No, there was somebody there. I didn't even know who it was.
Okay. Well, that's good.
But he did a pretty good job, and did a pretty good job. He had a slideshow, huh? No, I know Tito.
Or Shayla's. I don't know. He's been running the shade tree commission.
Should we have more of an official part of this? I mean, I don't know how we fit in exactly, but.
It seems like it's pretty much divided up, which are the same topic wise. We have people from the county, we may have people from the state, we have people from various counties. But it's, at least my experience of all of the different things, pretty much topic driven. So
Yeah, it is.
I think it's just a matter of.
But Broome County does have a pretty big part in it.
They have a lot, but and going to their meetings, I mean, these are mostly people that work for the county.
Right.
My experience there. I don't see like a lot of stuff actually happening.
Well, they're just reporting what they've been doing. I mean, already. I mean, this,
Yeah.
their own action plan.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole different ball of wax. That was part of my job. That's kind of different. So,
Okay, I guess, it doesn't seem to me it's something you joined, you just participated in it, so I don't know.
Yeah. I think they got my name totally outside of my affiliation with the commission, because they use a different language. They use the university email address.
well, do you use that with the county? When you on the county, right?
Yeah, I have a separate email that I set up for the commission, like some of us were told to do when we first started, in case they get foiled or whatever. But, they use my university email, which I don't use, never use for the commission. I had my personal one at the beginning, but never use that email for this, but nevertheless, they got a hold of me in the beginning. Over a year
The
ago.
university's the driving force, right?
Yeah, yes, yeah, they are.
Initiative, so that's.
Yes. sure who's gonna be leaving her position.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, there were quite a few faculty members there. George Hansi was there.
Oh, good.
Yes, right behind. And, Susie Bryan, she teaches. Yes.
I agree with what I think your sentiment is, Scott. Not more that could be, should be, would be done here, but I'm finding it really difficult to get any traction citywide without having a department.
Without
Having department heads, people from departments actually involved in this. Because, as an advisory, it kind of seems like we're being considered advisory to city council, basically. They appointed us all. Until we find a way to inroad with the administration, it's kind of difficult to really get actual things happening. Buy-in from that. Whereas I'm hoping the city council learns that the power is from the power of the purse. Department heads are starting to think about this year's planning for next year's budget. I saw many times last year that it's really critical to learn the budget, understand the budget, and as you break up into the groups, who's the public works, who's police, fire and safety, and this different groups, learn that budget. Because I know from experience on the other side of it, where I used to sit at budget meetings till 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes for several days. And much smaller budget as far as what's actually spent manpower wise or the people wise and everything. Now, it's police come in, fire come in 45 minutes an hour. It's that you have enough money for them. And they look at me like I had a mask on and done. Like I was trying to get their money up for nothing. It's like we provide a lot of services in public works. I've been way more than everybody else. It's not physical, though.
Yeah.
But it's part of that. But it's like they can say yes or no. The budgets. They can't tell people how to run their department. They could say, we would like department heads to show up at commission meetings and be involved. And not like we're going to tell them how to run their department, but just they could ask us and we could research stuff for them.
Just for exchange of information.
But information back and forth, you have to have the data.
That'd be nice, yeah.
To make a dent in things, because we can all help each other out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was my idea in the very beginning. I was hoping by now, having gone through a cycle of the budget hearings, that we would go a little further along the solution by then. But I realize it takes time. It's the learning curve. Being on city council, working for a municipality, never worked in government before. It's very steep, like any job. Private sector.
I think one thing I could do is if we're going to do something like maybe next meeting, we'll hear about the blue bags. I mean, there's more to it than blue bags, but I could just make sure that the ex officio department members are at least alerted and urge them to come.
They can't come, they should
Send
give
them
them an excuse, just like
Yeah.
we do,
Yeah.
said city council was letting you represent.
And I would copy the mayor's office on it, if send out specific
Okay,
yes.
requests. I would always copy the mayors because they do work for the mayor.
Yeah.
We were even talking, when we first started, of adding other ex officios, where we couldn't get the ones that were down there to come, so. I guess we gave
up on that.
Yeah, I mean, early on, I was sending out, invitations and requests and stuff to copy the mayor's office. I didn't get, back. So, I mean,
And you're a well-known person.
I'm probably on the picture on every dartboard and every other room in the building.
Congratulations.
Another thing is in addition to having ex officio members that technically should come, we could maybe have a list of departments that we want to touch base with, like once or twice a year, just invite them to a meeting
Okay,
to exchange information.
okay, yeah.
Not necessarily on a monthly basis. But just,
Well, and there's lots of things that could be done. City council could host public information meetings, people during the day. I don't know that they can't direct them to come because they're not managing. But they do control the budget to a certain degree. They can say yes or no during the month. At budget time. It's gone past there, kind of, the years can go around.
I'm also wondering if some of the environmental issues will become more of a priority.
Become
Council, more of a priority.
Yeah.
Their priority this first year is going to be housing, rental systems, or code things are implemented, so that, I mean, they're entitled to that, setting their priorities, but that's what it was.
That seems to be a buzz topic across the country.
Yeah.
But you travel places and you talk to people and that's like, it seems to be like right here. I personally, I mean, I get it. If you're somebody that doesn't have a place to live, or housing, or you can't afford it, it's definitely top your priority. And I think it is really important. I'm not trying to belittle it. But everything else has to keep going on too. So it's like, you can't, to me, it's not very effective governance to just say, okay, here's everything we've been doing, whatever it is we do, and it's kind of going here. We're going to just talk about this over and over. And they are doing things about it. There are things being done. I don't think it's anything that's a quick fix. But all the other stuff has to be done too. And if you have good governance and you manage the money that you already have access to, taxpayers, or whatever revenue sources are at, there will be more money to do the house because it always, like I said, it just comes back to the money. If you like it, not like it, until somebody proves that statement wrong, I'm standing by it. If you have the money to do that, to do more housing and stuff, so how do you do that? We already have going on well, and usually if they're well managed, most of the times, unless it's deliberate, they're also beneficial to the environment. You reduce fuel usage, no matter what kind it is. It's good for everybody. Other than maybe nice shareholders. So it's
Okay,
anyway.
no, thanks. Good things.
Thanks for doing that annual report, John.
Yeah,
We'll make it nice.
thank you. I'll probably submit a final draft to you guys and give you 3 minutes to respond.
Be on base camp and ask for comments.
Yeah.
So it is on base camp.
Yes,
Oh.
Nikita.
If somebody's already answered this, forgive me for asking, if I already asked before, but the lead in the soil, do we know, like, have there been studies to see how much lead there is in the soil? Like, that's something I didn't realize was an issue until a couple months ago. And I actually found out through Amelia at Vines, and that's why they do the raised gardens, or they help people do the raised gardens to discourage people from planting in the ground because of the lead. And so, like, do we know how big of a problem it is? And like, and I think we could do things on outreach. And is there anything to remedy it? I mean, I don't know how we take lead out of the soil, but
Actually, a BU researcher did quite a bit of work on that, but that was some 25 years ago or something. What I do know is lead levels are decreasing because most of the lead came from gasoline, lead gasoline. And the only trouble is, lead is, it doesn't change, it's lead, and the only way it disappears is by leaching. And but
It doesn't disappear, it disperses.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know, but that's certainly, I'd like to know more about that. And, I'll ask the researcher who did that was Wei-Jing Zhu. I'll ask him just if he knows any more current information about that.
is he biology or chemistry?
Biology. He was
That
in
name
bio-
sounds really familiar.
Yeah. He was sampling all around around Route 81 there. Do you know where Route 81 comes down near Otsiningo Park there? There's sort of a big area in the middle there, and that's where he was doing quite a bit of his work.
Or bigger it floods.
I don't think it does, but yeah.
That makes sense on the highway traffic there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the suspected areas would be those near highways and roadways.
Yes.
And then also wherever there was dumping, because there was a lot of dumping done at different sites. So we might not even know what happened there.
I also wonder too, like, if, I don't know if the county if the county health department, if they would be interested in sampling, because I also would wonder what areas, because I'm sure there's word I'm looking for. Like it's not equal, and I'm sure there's going to be some areas that are more impacted than others, and probably even maybe like lower income areas might be disproportionately impacted. So I think that would be, I don't know, and I know money is going to be tight and just getting even more tighter, but that would be, I would be curious if there's a way to see if he has like the locations that he has, and if there's a way to maybe see if they can do a more recent study, if somebody can, to kind of see like where are we at and like what areas are most concerned, and then maybe do an outreach in those areas.
Mhm.
Did Amelia indicate that there was any data on that, or they just do it as a precaution wherever they go?
She didn't get deep in the weeds of it because the content, like where the meeting that it was, she's just giving general overviews of different things. And I do want to talk to her and touch base with her because I am curious to see about the issue. And then I didn't talk too much about it when I went to Albany a couple months ago. I talked to, it was somebody at the DEC. It wasn't the DEC, it was another state agency. And they're aware, like, and that person was aware of the lead issue in the soil in Broome County, and then met her in Albany. And so I do want to touch base with her to see maybe like, additional information she might have. And then another question that I have too that's related that I'm wondering is with lead pipes. Like, are all the lead, like, because you talked about like the old houses could still have lead pipes. Do we know if there are still lead pipes, and if there are still lead pipes in the old, like the houses, is there anything to try to replace them, or is the county sample, like, are they doing water samples from specific houses to see like what the lead levels are? I know there were samples from buildings, but are they doing it at residential houses as well?
I think Luke was saying that There aren't many.
I don't know that there are. I don't know that there are, but I haven't heard of them doing sampling unless somebody requested it.
I think that's definitely something the health department is interested in. And,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I
some
kind of know
inquiries.
how it would work, because when I lived in New York City, you could request a lead testing kit for your home. What you do is you collect a little bottle of water when you first turn on the faucet, and then let it run for about 2 minutes, and you collect another sample. And they compare the two, and usually the lead content goes down a lot, you know, if you let it run for a couple of minutes. But also, they put a calcium compound in there, which raises the pH and keeps the lead from leaching, because the more acidic the water is, the lower the pH the water is, the more lead is going to come out as the water travels through. It will leach.
So they keep the water more basic?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they raise the pH, and they do it with a calcium compound. So, for example, Johnson City, which has already high pH water, probably doesn't need it, you know, don't have to worry as much, but ours is kind of, it hovers, it's around 7, sometimes 6.9, sometimes 7.2, something like that. So it goes on both sides. And, that is a factor as far as leaching lead, pH. Just how long it sits in the pipe, so that's why I always let mine run, because I don't know. I haven't tested mine since I'm thinking, but it's a good idea if we could get something.
Yeah, you can do something outreach. And then the other question, so that just to not stay up too long, is, because then my other question, which I know that the funding is going to be an ongoing concern, but where does the county get the money to test? And is that something that we have to be concerned, like, are they getting federal funds to do the lead testing, or is it taxpayer money? Because is that something that we have to be concerned about that we might not have access to in the future with all the federal cuts?
I would think the health department gets some kind of funds for that, but other than that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they get funds, I don't know for sure, but I think they get funds from the federal government and the state, but I don't know if that's the group.
Most federal monies that goes to any other group goes to the state first, and then county. So very, at least like in the city, you can't get direct federal monies. Other than grants.
Maybe a highway project or
But
something, right?
the highway projects all go through federal highway money, all goes through the state. So, most of the money is right.
But I mean, like a county road or something.
State. If it was federal, most roads get a portion. That goes to the state to do it. Percentage. State gets a percentage. Typically like 8, 5, 10, 5, 15, 5. Any of that transportation stuff.
Well, yes, the world is full of issues.
Is that something we want to prioritize too, or like, is it like, what are,
It seems to me that's a wonderful topic for the Eco Docs Committee.
yeah, or is it something that you would want the Eco Tax Committee to prioritize or focus on? And like, I guess, what, are there other things, like, what are some of the things that, even as a group, that we wanted to focus on this year?
I would ask the,
Sorry, about what?
Other, the researcher?
to do the stuff in the soil, to do the soil, property inspection. Yeah, it's done. Because a lot of that stuff does go through them. They do get different funding sources. But they usually have a pretty good handle as far as who the authority is, where the money's coming from, or who's doing different things. I mean, they're a really good resource, good information. Sean Cummings.
Oh, yeah. Culvert extension, yeah.
If they can't, they probably can refer you to somebody.
Yeah, that's what I mean, as far as he, I mean.
Okay, I think we really should adjourn the
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? All against? No, I'm joking. Okay, good. Well, a lot of good discussion. Thank you. And,
Keita, I want to be able to work with you in the future, okay?
Yes, yes.
Good. Yeah, I think we have a lot of value for. I will keep my voice on control.
Like I said, we can disagree, but just not yell. And I want it to be a space where we all feel comfortable and it's not, like, I don't want there to be any animosity or tension. Like, I feel like all comfortably be able to engage.
Paralyzed.
What's that?
The news is paralyzing.
Yes.
Yeah. It's almost like a halfway to a meeting now.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Yeah, hopefully it's not necessary. It's waterproof and it's lightweight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll see you all in August.
Hey, yeah, is there any chance you can zoom in, or
I
maybe
will-
you don't want to?
I will try and do my best to zoom in,
Okay.
as much as I am not a fan of zooming.
Yes, I know you travel, Luke.
Thank you.
Oh, you said you're gonna, yeah, you won't be here until August?
Yeah.
August.
Going traveling.
How could I do that?
Oh, I'm available by phone.
On the road.
Or-
Well, safe travels.
Thank you.
I guess you can count that as transportation.